So I'm just taking my ruler and I'm placing it kind of in the middle of my paper. If you're worried about being straight rather than wonky, you can push to the ruler so that the end is flush with your paper on the side here, or you can, you know, measure the width of the paper and then find the center point. So this is about 21 and a half centimeters. So we're looking at, I don't know, somewhere around, we could do, just as an approximate measurement, we could just do 11. Okay, so we need a horizon line going through the center of our paper. I'm going to press pretty dark because I want it to show up on the screen for you guys, but you can work very lightly because, again, when you're working with perspective, you're going to end up erasing a lot of these lines, and the horizon line is one of the ones that end up getting erased, okay? Then we want to choose one point where it's kind of, so we would imagine that we're looking out into the distance. This is our eye level. What point in the distance is like the furthest away? That's going to be your vanishing point. So I'm going to go ahead and just put it into the center. Realistically, if you want things kind of vanishing towards this way or this way, you can offset your vanishing point. You can put your vanishing point at anywhere on your horizon line, but I'm just going to have everything in my image go back this way. Actually, that's a little bit better without the light. Okay. The next thing that we need is to figure out, just create some basic forms around our horizon line. So I'm just going to go ahead and work with squares. We're going to be working with boxes. We're going to end up with something like this. This is very rough, but we've got our horizon line, our vanishing point, and just a bunch of boxes floating around. Okay. So what is the shape that we start with when we start drawing a box? A square. Okay. So I'm going to do one square that's, I like to just sketch it out and then after I fix it up. I'm going to do one on the bottom. Okay. We'll do one right on top of the horizon here. Let's see what happens if we have an object right on top of our. They could be rectangles, they don't have to be perfect squares. It's just a very simple geometric shape to work with. Okay, and let's do a couple that are up here. Okay, so these are, imagine standing here looking to the distance, these are to the left of us. What about if we have objects just below our feet or right in front of our face or right above our head? Okay, so let's add a few more boxes here. Let's do one right above. They can be all different shapes and sizes, that's fine. Okay, we'll do one right on top. I'm gonna make this one really light so that it doesn't confuse you later. Okay, so a box right in front of us, almost like blocking our view. We can do one below. Okay, we can do one up here in the corner. Maybe do one to the right of our eye level. Maybe one at the bottom right of us. Okay. So the first thing you do when you're working with one point perspective is oftentimes you draw the part of the object that is facing you. So imagine, right, this, say, being a bench or something. This is the part that's facing straight at you, okay? So now what we're going to do is when we draw that frontal face, you're going to take the corners of the form or the shape, because we're going to be turning it into a form. and we're going to bring them back to that point in the distance. Okay, so with perspective, you have to be exact, okay? You can't have your ruler slip up. And again, my lines are gonna be way darker than yours because I want it to show on the screen, but a lot of this you end up erasing. So you wanna be really light with your lines. So all the corners come back to that vanishing point, okay? We can even do the interior corner just to show, imagine that this is like a clear box. I'm gonna do a dotted line so that you know that it's on the opposite side of the box. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna use transverse lines, parallel transverse lines. So when two lines are parallel, they're going in the exact same direction. Doesn't matter what direction it is, but they're going in the exact same direction. So they could go on for a million years and they'll never touch, right? Because they're equally spaced forever. So here we're gonna use parallel transverse lines, okay, to kind of finish off this form. So I'm gonna take this line and then I'm just gonna scooch it back based on how large I want this face to be. And I'm gonna do a parallel line, finishing the back of my box here. And I'm going to have the top one go back just as far as that line, that point, but it has to be parallel with this. So just make sure that you're moving it so that it stays parallel. I think this is the hardest part because it's so easy for your ruler to go a little bit wonky, right? All right, and if you wanted to, again, finish off this box so that it looked like a clear three-dimensional box in perspective, you could take this interior line and you can take this corner and again, make sure that it's parallel to this. Bring the ruler up to this point and then do like sometimes it takes a little bit of tweaking to get right? So this would be a cube that's in perspective based on where it is in relation to the viewer. The viewer is here and it's looking out into the distance. The box is below our eye level to the side of us. So we see the top of it and we see the side of it here, okay? So let's try this one here. This one here is below eye level, but it's kind of right in front of us. So I'm just gonna take the two top corners here and bring them back. Okay, and then if I do these interior ones, right, they're again, we'd only see them if it was a clear box, a clear glass cube object. I can just really lightly put them in, but if you don't want to keep them, you don't need them, okay? But I would see the top of the box, and again, I want to keep my line parallel to this. I just want to bring it back and finish it off, okay? But that's all I would see. I would see the front of the box and I would see a little bit of the top, okay? Here I would see the front. I would see a little bit of the side, okay? And I would see the top. Okay, let's try this one here. This one is below eye level, but it's to the right of us. So I'm gonna take all the points of the square here and I'm gonna bring it back to the vanishing point. This is again why I love working with clear rulers. I know the plastic rulers are always the cheapest and sometimes they tend to even snap, but I love that you can see what's underneath them while you're working, okay? Okay, so again, if I took this point back, I mean, I could if I wanted to draw a shape that looked transparent, but you don't need to. Okay, so I'm gonna finish off this side of my cube. I'm gonna take this line here and I'm gonna just bring my ruler back at a consistent space. Okay, what you don't want to do is accidentally do something like this. That looks off. Okay, or you don't want to do something like this. Okay, that looks off too. You want to keep your line parallel. So scooch it over as far as you want. And then this line needs to be parallel with this one. So just going back to that point. Okay, voila. So now I see the front of the object and I see this side because it's to the right side of my view, and I see the top of the object. Okay, so these are the three bottom variations that we have, working with a horizon level here and working with a vanishing point where everything's kind of fading towards the distance in this area. Okay, so we call this everything below the horizon, everything below the eye level. We call this bird's view. Okay, so in the corner here, you can label it birds or bird's eye view. Okay, because we can see the tops of things, and you can even add a little check mark on the top. Because everything in bird's eye view you can see the top of to some extent. The closer the object gets to the vanishing point, the less of the top you're going to see, okay? For instance, we could do a square back here. I'm just going to show you quickly. You don't have to do this one. I don't know if you could see it in the distance, kind of fitted into those lines, right? You can see less of the top of it. As the object becomes closer and closer, you're exposed to more of the top of the object. Okay. I want to keep this fairly clean to not confuse some of you guys that are beginners. Okay, so let's leave it at that. I'm going to cut this video off here, and then in the next video, we're going to try to see what these would look like if they were above eye level.